Hello, I'm Vivian. This one is on back surgery. I talk a little bit in a couple of previous videos about certain things, and I'm going to share again, repeat a little bit of it. They did a study years ago. They just took 10 random people that had no back pain. They weren't experiencing any back discomfort or back pain, and they x-rayed them. And 4 of them had serious back problems. So when a person goes into the doctors with a back pain, they're going to x-ray you, and then maybe put you in an MRI machine and scan you that way to get better detail. So you go in with back pain, they x-ray you, and you may have an injury, and they go, that's what it is. There it is. It's on the x-ray. Let's fix this. Operate. Relieve the pressure, slip discs, herniated disc, a missile, whatever. And the majority of people that I know personally that's had back surgeries did not get relief from their pain, and they ended up with more pain and more issues and another surgery, multiple surgeries. And many of them are younger than me, not even 50 yet, and they're already having that done. My mom had it done. She had severe arthritis, and it was literally strangling her spinal cord. And the last surgery she had before she died, it was the cauda equina. She wasn't able to walk, and she couldn't use the bathroom. I mean, she couldn't pee. And I took her to the emergency room. And that's what, they said it was cauda equina. They had to relieve the pressure, had to be done. And she doesn't recover well from surgeries because of her kidney condition. She had all sorts of stuff. She had to get cleared from 3 different doctors before they can perform the surgery. Her cardiologist, her nephrologist, and her, primary. They had to make sure that, get medications and stuff. So she had that done. That had to be done. And she had to be on a catheter because she still wasn't able to void, medical term, pee, urinate. I actually learned how to do the catheter because she was on a Foley, which is a bag. They put a tube in, and the tube stays in. They leave it in there for weeks. And that also set her up for a infection, bladder infection, that caused her to get septic. And I thought for sure that was the end of it, because when anyone's septic, they're not going to be thinking right. And with her kidney, it was like, so the reason I'm talking about this, because the back issues can definitely lead to other issues. So my husband started his back. He thought it was his kidneys. It was like right in the sides on his back, where he knew where his kidneys were, and he's like, it's hurting. And being a man, this was 7 years ago. He felt that he should exercise. There's a lot of men having heart attacks to make themselves think they weren't having a heart attack. Did go up and down stairs and to prove themselves that they were a man. And he did the same. Bless him. He was doing toe touches and stretches, and things just kept getting worse. So around the same time, my mom fell and broke her wrist. And we don't know if that triggered the shingles outbreak on her, or the shingles outbreak caused her to fall in the first place. It didn't matter, because we had to deal with both of them, the broken wrist and the shingles. So it's like, and on her, you couldn't see, but she was like, just like, this is like driving her crazy. It was like, so I brought her home, and my husband was continuing on with the back issue at that time. And I was like, honey, maybe you neutral back. You need to do neutral back. Whenever you're having back issues, you don't need to be touching your toes. You need to keep what's called a neutral back. Look it up. Better videos out there than I can explain it to you. And looking at me like I'm crazy, and he continues doing what he's been doing. He ends up bedridden. He's in so much pain he cannot get out of bed. I'm dealing with my mom, who's got shingles. She came to stay with us during that time. She got shingles and a broken arm because she couldn't do a lot of stuff for herself. So I was caring for her. Then my husband gets bedridden. This is all right before Christmas, 2011. And then my son says, I think I got chickenpox. He's 19 at this time. I had all his vaccines. Another video. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I took him to the doctors. He didn't want to go. He's like, we know what it is, and there's not much I can do. They do have some medication for outbreaks. The same medication my mom was taking for her shingles. That's where my son got the chickenpox. My daughter brought the grandkids over, hoping that they get chickenpox and be done with it, even though they've been vaccinated. So I got 3 adults I'm caring for. And I'll get back to the back issue. But I was just praying, Lord, just let me get through this before anything happens to me. And I'm down. But I was like taking care for 3 adults. And my husband's progressively getting worse. I was seeing a chiropractor at that point too, not Maximize Living. But I was seeing a different chiropractor, a good one. I like him too. He was very good. He helped. So I got my husband to go. I was like, what do you got to lose? And when he was in the office, he had him on different contraptions and did different stuff. And my husband was still able to walk some, but he was in a lot of pain. So put him on a slightly inclined table. And he said that really helped take the pressure off. So I got an inversion table, which around Christmas time, exercise machines are like Sam's Club and Costco's. They were just like, because they know that people are going to do that whole New Year's resolution come after the holidays. So they have all that exercise stuff on the display. So I got an inversion table, fortunately, because they don't carry it other times of the year, and I wouldn't have been able to find one easily. So I got it, and that helped. Learned some yoga positions for the back. Superman, you can look at yoga position Superman. That helped my husband too. And then he went to the doctor, and the doctor gave him a cortisol shot, and then sent him on to get an MRI. And it was right before Christmas. So I'm dealing with my son recovering from chickenpox, my mom with a broken arm and dealing with shingles. And then it's my husband returning. And he gets a cortisol shot. That helped him some. But he gets the MRI done. But he can't get an appointment until after the new year. So he's got like 2 weeks before he can see a surgeon about the back. And we didn't really want to do that. So we walk in, first appointments, a couple of weeks later, my husband's walking with the cane. He's doing much better. I'm putting his socks on his feet at this time still, because he's just not going to risk it. He had to learn different things with his back to not cause it more damage. And I'm going to pause it for just a little bit. So we get to the doctor's office, first appointment of the day, and we can hear the receptionist saying, yes, he's here with a cane. He walked in with a cane. And then she's taking us back there. And the doctor was absolutely floored. He was flabbergasted. I love that word. Try to use it when I can. But the surgeon, the neurosurgeon, could not believe. He was asking my husband a lot of questions. How much pain are you in? And at that point, he's like, not really painful, just a little discomfort. I'm limited in my mobility, but it's just kind of like a tightness. It's not pain. And he was like, just come back here. I want to show you your MRI. He says, if I showed this to my surgical partner, he said, what time tomorrow is the surgery? It's that serious. They would have done that. He said, but you're not in any pain. We're not going to touch it. If you're not in pain, we're not going to we're not going to open you up. But he showed us my husband's MRI, he had an extruding ruptured disc. So it was, what happened was, we figured out he was doing, he was lifting weights with our son and his friends, you know. So he's lifting weights with 19-year-old young men, and he's going to keep up because he's a man. That's what men do. And they were doing military presses, which is where they take the weight bar and they go up, both arms. So he's doing military presses, and that's when it started. And his kidneys started bothering. He said he thought it was his kidneys. And that's what started his back injury, and it caused it to extrude. Touching toes and forcing, because it was like, you know, when you eat a sandwich and you bite it and everything comes out the other end, that was what was happening. So it went in to where his spinal cord was and was going down, and that's what's putting pressure on his spinal cord, pain and inability to move. So it was really important to be careful about that kind of stuff and be aware of what your limits are. But the doctor was just absolutely, he just could not believe. He thought for sure my husband was going to come into the office in a wheelchair, and then they would schedule the surgery for the next day. So this was 6 years, a little over 6 years ago. And we're just so grateful that he didn't have to go underneath the knife. So there's a lot of things, before you have that option to try different things with your diet, address the inflammation. The cortisol shot definitely helped him with the severe inflammation in that area. He just corrected me. He didn't have a cortisol shot. He was taking prednisone, and that helped. That helped him with the inflammation too. But not getting the back surgery. Yeah, we're so grateful that he was didn't have to go through that. And the doctor was he just could not believe it. He was just like, and he was happy about it. It was, he had plenty of business. He didn't need income from our insurance company for that procedure. So, and I'm very grateful that he was happy about that. I mean, he was like, he just couldn't believe it. He's like, whatever you've been doing, just keep doing that because it's obviously working. And sadly, we know, I've said it earlier, know people younger than us who's had surgery and it didn't alleviate their pain, and they're still in pain, and now it's like a different procedure they need to do and all this other stuff. My husband still has the inversion table, and periodically he'll use that. He doesn't go full vertical. You can set it at different inclines, and he keeps that out to where he can use that because especially when he's been really active, that sometimes it helps with that. He already had a compressed disc condition from earlier that he didn't really know about, that he probably did some damage when he would kind of remember something happening in his early Navy days. So that showed up in the MRI that, that's an old, that's been there, but this is the new one. They actually showed the ruptured part of the disc going down next to the spinal cord inside. So that was definitely the new, and that's what was causing the problems. And normally they would have done surgery the next day. So I was we got lucky that the timing of all that happened the way it happened. Because if it hadn't been right before Christmas and everyone was pretty much closing shop and booked up, or both, they would have done the surgery the next day as soon as they saw the MRI. But because we had the holidays and it was like 2 weeks, and he was able to had to do something different. I can't take the credit saying that we were smart and did this instead of it's just the way it worked out timing wise, that we had to do something. He was in a lot of pain, and we had to do something for that until he was able to see the surgeon and then find out what, the next step. But fortunately, by that next step, he was so improved. So that kind of makes me go, well, maybe other people could try this too. You know, yeah. And I just wanted to share that story about his back, the surgery, doing different things, an alternative way, and actually lucking out on not having the surgery, which they would have done the next day if it hadn't been for the holidays. Thanks for watching.